Well, hello everybody. Time for a story again. And I thought I would tell you something about folklore, legends, which abound in Africa, and sometimes they defy comprehension. These are true tales of my African adventures. May this inspire you, deter you, caution you, and above all, entertain you. Well, I get called out to catch snakes. I used to get called out a lot. Some of them were very exciting, especially when it was like a mamba in the roof. That's very exciting, let me tell you. Although I wouldn't always call it exciting. Large pythons in strange places, cobras in cupboards, you know the stories. I've mentioned some of them. So one evening I got called out to come and collect a snake in a farmhouse. Now these people were about 10 kilometers away from our farm. They knew me. The lady of the house was a sharpshooter, member of the local gun club, and she was excellent with a rifle or a handgun. She always used to tell me I shouldn't carry a Glock. I should carry a better handgun, because one of the members of their club, when he was drawing to shoot in a competition, pulled out his Glock and got his finger on the trigger too soon and shot himself in the thigh, and citing that as a reason why I should not carry a Glock. Anyway, I happen to carry a Glock. And you know why we carry weapons in South Africa. It's not a decoration. However, I got called to this farm and I went into the house. The son came out and met me. And there was this bizarre scene, sort of like a strange movie, where the people had arranged chairs in the passage, and some were standing, some were seated. And they each carried a very powerful, deadly weapon, which you should not be discharging in a house. I think they know that themselves, because if it hits a solid wall, there can be ricochet or pieces of wall will fly off in all directions. But there they were, strangely enough, sitting, standing, peering into the kitchen through the doorway. They were all seated so they could get a view of the snake. And there was a snake draped over a picture, all over the picture frame. Really strange. I took one look at it and I knew it was a female boomslang. Boomslang. Boom is tree, slang is snake, so a tree snake. Sounds innocuous, but I might have mentioned to you before that a boomslang carries probably one of the most deadly venoms known to man. The amount of venom it needs to kill you is microscopic. Microscopic. And once you've been envenomated by a boomslang, you will die. Nothing can save you except serum. And the serum is specifically made from the venom only of the boomslang. And because it has such a tiny amount of venom in its venom glands, it is almost impossible to milk them. So there are two people, friends of mine in South Africa, who specialize in being able to extract venom to make this dedicated boomslang venom. And thank God for them, this boomslang serum. Thank God for them. Because once one of these snakes bites you, you're a dead man, unless you get that serum. No blood transfusion can save you, no drug, no mindset, nothing. It is a terrifying prospect. But luckily, they're quite benign, these snakes. They hardly ever try to bite, although you get the odd maniac boomslang that will try to bite you. I've related a story where I got scratched by the fang fangs of a large boomslang, and I sat up all night waiting for the symptoms, because it takes quite a long time for the venom to kill you, up to 48 hours. So I sat around waiting for symptoms to develop, and they never did. I was very relieved on that occasion, let me tell you. So they hardly ever bite. But if you do get bitten, boy, are you in trouble. There are terrible stories about people dying from these snake bites, and I've seen photographs of people where they've hemorrhaged under the skin over just about the entire body. Blood comes out of your eyes, your nose, your gums, under your fingernails. You bleed internally. Any scratch or cut on the body bleeds profusely as the blood thins from the effects of the venom. Terrible bite. But a benign snake, it hardly ever bites. And there was a female. Now it was mating season. Winter heralds the mating season for boomslang. They get together, and in some places, I will tell a story next time or soon about how these snakes gather together for a mating orgy where there are so many of these snakes that arrive at one particular spot, and they turn up regularly every season for the mating event. It was a female, it was waiting for a male. And obviously in this area, the snakes traditionally got together possibly in their roof or in a tree. There was a big tree above the house, or somewhere near the house. The boomslang were coming together for mating. And this one had gotten through the roof, and there was a hole which had recently developed in the roof from rain, which had gotten onto the soft ceiling boards, and the ceiling boards had collapsed a little, and he'd come inside. Draped himself on the picture, waiting for her mate. And now the whole family was there, not knowing what snake it was, and not knowing why it was there, all decked out with their powerful weapons, sitting and watching the snake as if watching a show. It was so strange. Anyway, I told them to take it easy, and I went around to another door, went into the kitchen, took the boomslang very carefully off the picture frame and put it into a container, and I said I will release it at my farm. And then I explained the whole story about boomslang and their mating rituals, and in winter and so on. And they were extremely happy, and we had a long chat mainly about guns after I told them about the snakes. In fact, if you mention the word gun or rifle in front of this lady, you had it, because then you're in for an hour of non-stop talking about which gun you should use, etc. Anyway, boomslang, one of their favorite foods is chameleons, proper African chameleons, those very slow-moving arboreal lizards which shoot their tongue out and capture prey on the end of their sticky tongue, put it back in and munch it. Lovely creatures. I love chameleons. One of the boomslang's favorite foods is a chameleon. Now, I was in a remote part of South Africa at one time, and there were some local tribesmen. They weren't terribly sophisticated, and obviously a lot of folklore there, a lot of legends in the bush amongst these people. But there were a couple of them who spoke English pretty well. And while we were chatting, I noticed a chameleon in a bush nearby, and I leant over and picked up the chameleon, and they let out a couple of screams and shouts and jumped back a bit. And we know this. People in Africa generally are frightened of chameleons. But I never thought to ask why they're frightened of chameleons. So I asked them, why are you scared of these chameleons? They're not venomous. They can't bite. If they do bite you, it's of no consequence. It's just a little pinch. What is it that makes you so afraid of them? So the chap who spoke English the best, he volunteered the information. And let me tell you, folklore, legends, in Africa and South Africa, where I come from, are very powerful and all-consuming. And he told me the story. He said, many, many, many years ago, all the people in Africa were brown or black, all of them. And then this pool appeared. It was, I think, provided by the gods or the ancestors. And what this pool would do is, if you bathed in it, you turned white, like Caucasians. And that is how the people started becoming white in Africa, in southern Africa, from a long, long time ago. And so people would have to trek from all parts of Africa to come to bathe in this pool and to turn white. And I was intrigued listening to the story, and I said, yes, and then, and how does the chameleon fit into this? He said, one day in the morning, this giant chameleon came through the bush, and it came up to the water, and it drank, and it drank, and it drank, and it drank the water, until there was only about an inch or less left in the bottom of the pool. And he then disappeared, walked off into the bush. And from that day onwards, people could only put the palms of their hand and the soles of the feet in the water. And that is why, and he showed me his palms, that is why my hands are white underneath and my feet are white underneath. It's because of that chameleon. And that is why we do not like those chameleons. And that is why we're afraid of them. Because of the process which they interrupted. Most bizarre, but very interesting. Hey, by the way, I do have Patreon, so you can join me there too.